Hello, hello.
Hello, Aftab. How's it going?
Absolutely. I'm really excited. This is our first podcast. Not our first, but mine also. So I'm really excited. How are you,
Me too.
Travis?
I'm doing all right. I didn't know this is your first, so this is great. It's both of our first.
Yeah, and thank you for giving your valuable time.
Thank you for thinking of me, man. This is gonna be cool. It's always nice to just have a PPC conversation and just
Yeah,
just
yeah. And thank you. So before we move forward, so
hmm
I would like to introduce myself to the audience. So my name is Aftab, and I've been working as Amazon PPC expert for the past 4 years, and have managed work with many brands. And the guest that we have is a very special guest. So Travis is one of the people that I have met virtually, and they impressed me at the beginning. So very knowledgeable and insightful. And I would love you to introduce yourself.
You got it. Well, thank you for that intro. I've been equally impressed as I got to know you too, Aftab.
Thank you.
What's going on? So my name's Travis. I I guess should I start? I've been working in the Amazon space for since 2021, and got my start working with Helium 10 and working with their ads solution, which was known as Adtomic at the time. It's currently known as Helium 10 ads. And so that's where I really gained a significant amount of knowledge and just learned from my own, approach to making
Yeah.
sure I understood ads, but I was privileged enough to be able to work with so many sellers and so many agencies, kind of learn all the different ways that people go about their advertising. So it's been a cool 4 years, 5 years now, 4 years, I think. So yeah.
Yeah, that's really amazing. And to be honest, when I started this, it was in my mind to also mention that you work at Helium 10, but in the excitement that skipped away from my mind. Uh,
Yes. That was my upbringing was Helium 10. I was fortunate enough to get a position that I was lucky in getting it. I, interviewed very well to tell them like I can learn this really fast, trust me. And they said, prove it. And I had to give a whole presentation as part of my interview process on search term isolation, which that was when search term isolation was like the big thing about 4 years ago.
exactly.
Um, and reading up on it and trying to understand it enough to fake my way through a presentation. I remember just thinking like, what am I reading? What are these things? What is this? And there is just a random moment in doing it where the light bulb went off in I just like, I think I understand what I'm talking about. And I got through the
Yeah,
interview, the job, and then the rest is history. Like learned PPC as I went along, and I'm still learning PPC at this moment because Amazon's always changing it up on us. And there is always something to see what stone have we not turned over to see if it works. So there's always everybody that I work with and everybody that I talk to, I always say like I'm still a student in this game. So
exactly. This is
yeah.
evolving all the time, and we learn all the things. And yeah, you were talking about system isolation. So if I remember, about 4 years ago and 5 years ago, that the PPC structures, specifically if I talk about, was not mature that we have today. That was some
Right.
limitations by Amazon, and then all the people that were in this field, they were giving the same advice that was not like going into the depth and all the things, and then and it evolved eventually. So and I
Mhm.
remember when first time in 2020, I attended a 5 days workshop by Titan Network. So the challenge was double your sales. And with the knowledge, my mind was like just blown away, and that was a lot new stuff, and I learned a lot of things. So
Mhm.
that is really amazing. So when I compare myself at that point until now, so it seems like I still knew nothing. So when we start, we we think
Right,
we know everything, but when we get into things and the details and this and that, and then we know that no, I don't know, and still I'm
right.
learning, improving. Yeah,
Right. I think the thing that has remained constant through my journey of PPC management and teaching it is that what the market changes. So like yes, PPC is always evolving, but like you can have certain practices and strategies and approaches. This is how we approach advertising.
exactly.
This is how we go about launching. This is how we go about maintenance. This is how we go about growth. But if the product isn't great or the brand isn't great, that
Yeah,
influences PPC. If a competitor comes in and starts swiping up positions unexpected, if you're not on top of that, that changes your PPC. So like everything you know and works can instantly in a day turn upside down on you and make you feel like, so wait, why isn't this working? It was working perfectly. What do we do now? And that, I mean, that's the joy of PPC to me. Some people might get stressed out with that, but I think that's where the
yeah.
beauty of PPC is like, oh great, keep it changing because I'm ready to evolve with it.
Yeah, exactly. There are several external factors are involved, and
Right,
that always doesn't need to be uh, do the reactive measure like just reducing the bids and this and do instead.
right,
So the thing is to just look at the things and get a full view of the picture and then do the things.
right.
Yeah, so that's a really killer introduction. Yeah, so before we move forward to the things that we decided, so I would love to share my screen to show the
Mhm.
audience the things that we are going to discuss. Okay, so I can happily say Travis Apta podcast one. So we will start with Travis agency journey, so which he has already uh, shed some light upon that, and then we talk about what he offers, how he helped Amazon sellers and brands to scale their business, and then we go some into the details of Amazon PPC, about decision making process, so what key metrics and data points should be analyzed for strategic decisions. And then we will go into this is some common question, not common, but everyone have different view. So uh, any his unique or controversial opinion that most of the sellers don't agree with, or he has a different approach. And then we go with his best practices or recommendations for running effective sponsored brand campaigns, because they are now not longer exact campaigns exist in sponsored brand campaigns. And then the vCPM one, the big killer here, we will,
That'll be
yeah,
a fun conversation there.
exactly. So we will also talk about that, because mostly the new sellers, they launch that campaign and they like fly high that their campaigns are performing
Yeah,
well, but
I'm a
in
whiz. I'm a whiz at PPC. I nailed it.
yeah, and the
Maybe.
reality will is different. Will
Very much so.
Trevor explain. And then we will talk about Amazon DSP ads. So, and then the most important for the people who are thinking of starting Amazon PPC or Amazon as a career. So, what advice or best practices they should adopt based on the expert opinion of Travis. So,
Okay.
this is our agenda. So, let's start with uh, we can discuss this again a little bit so that
Yeah. I guess so. What I didn't mention is, yeah, so I have my own agency that is called Zero In Advertising. And, you know, the idea behind the name is our goal here is to zero in on what works and really focus on profitable growth, which and many sellers that I come in contact with, that's growth is always on the list, but doing it in a way that doesn't hurt the business, and that we are seeing the right return with the right ad spend brought in, and growing it incrementally. Some sellers, occasionally might want to go for hyper growth, and that might mean that we need to, you know, do things a little bit differently in order to make that a reality. But yeah, I started my own agency, and left my position at Helium 10, because it was just the right moment. I had acquired a few clients along the way that I was just finding such joy doing that, and felt that it was just the right time to take the plunge last November. I think, yeah, last November of 2024, parted ways with Helium 10. And they were a wonderful diving board for my journey and getting me to the point of where I was at, and going this direction to have my own agency, and managing my own book of business of clients. So it's been the best decision ever. It
Yeah.
has its own challenges, but they're new challenges, and I welcome any challenge.
Yeah, that's really amazing. And so, anyone who's watching, any Amazon seller, they will know when we go into details of the things that how knowledgeable and insightful Travis is. And I can recommend him 1000%. You can work with him. Um,
Well, I
so,
appreciate that.
thank you.
Yes.
So, this is then again specifically about what services do you offer? You just work, help them with PPC, or you also like a full service agency?
Yeah, so I'm not a full service agency. I'm the ads guy specifically, and get to work with. I try to stay as focused in that position as possible, since that's where my expertise is at. And maybe over the years things change and new people come under my wing that offer their expertise in the
Yeah.
other facets of Amazon, and we can eventually maybe offer more things to my clients. But yeah, in the current state, I'm the ads guy and focus on whatever marketplace they're advertising in, on Amazon. We also offer, Google Ads is, something that's recently starting to come over to me that clients are looking for. But more and more, yeah, there's, the other platforms other than Amazon they're getting asked because people are looking for other ways
Exactly.
to sell their product. And that is important to start thinking, like, what other platforms can we start seeing some revenue from, whether it be Walmart or Wayfair or Meta
Hmm.
or
Yeah,
Google.
yeah, yeah.
All
Yes.
of these other shopping areas are being shopped. And depending on your brand, depending on your product, like, you might fit in nicely to one of those markets.
Yeah, especially it's not just about expanding your um, existing business, but it's also that becomes in the niches where the cost per click is touching like $4, like
Right.
dog
Yeah.
food, something like that. So you will not survive with 20 or $25 price and with the $4 CPC.
Absolutely not. Not unless your conversion is 100% every time.
Exactly, and then top of that, there are big dinosaurs sitting in there,
Yep.
ready to eat you. Yeah. So,
Yep. Literally,
yeah,
yes.
exactly. So, so the other thing is like now we are going into a little bit details. So about decision making. So how do you, uh, what metrics and data touch point do you analyze when making decisions, for PPC campaigns?
Yeah. So, you know, it depends. I'll start it by depends on what I'm looking for, and what the overall account goal is, or what the campaign or product goal is. So depending on what you're looking for, that answer can change drastically.
Yeah, that's
Um,
very diplomatic.
yes, but let's kind of like hone in on like what, what's important to people. Like I think some of the approaches that are tough to understand or tough to like make a decision for yourself on is like, how do I clear out wasted spend? What does that look like? Like that's the account's suffering. Um,
Exactly.
we need to cut. What's the safe cut? And basically, like the way I go about any decisions like that, it can start at the campaign level where I'm just looking for campaigns that
Yeah.
are hurting that I need to affect. And I can, depending on the size of the account, maybe the job's easy enough to just go identify campaigns over, let's say, 50% ACoS. So
Yeah.
that's gives me enough of a tell that there's something at work in there that's not working that we might need to pause, reduce bids. And so kind of start there. If the account as a whole is not performing well, then maybe I just go straight after the targets and say,
Exactly.
let's open up targets that are not aligned to our CPAs. And I think that's where I start is I try to identify is the account able to be managed as a whole on an account level CPA? Does the account have a cost per acquisition that makes sense to just align across the board? So if
Yeah.
hey, $15 and no sale just makes sense for this account, we don't that's $16 and no sale is a no fly zone. So it's
Exactly.
real easy to get in there and just make the decision that I'm going to look at 30 days, 60 days, 90 days if I can,
Hmm.
get that far back or even further back, because the reality is that some targets just take 90 days to accumulate 15
Exactly.
spend and no
That's the
sale.
point.
Yeah. So I go about cleaning up wasted spend that way, only if the account feels like it needs that. I don't go searching for
Yeah.
something that doesn't feel needed because there
That will
is
kill the account.
right. And while, what if you have an account that is hitting your tacos goal, your total advertising cost of sale? If we have a 15% goal, let's say, and we're there,
Hmm.
well, I very likely have targets that are at my $15 in no sale, but do I need to get rid of them? Like I'm hitting my tacos.
Yeah, yeah.
And on one side, maybe this touches on a little bit of controversial ideas. It's like, yeah, on one side, it's wasted spend, but on the other side, it's providing impressions, and those
Hmm.
impressions do matter. So do I want
Exactly.
to kill impressions? So, I only go looking for wasted spend when the account feels like it requires or needs it. Like, great, let's run some cleanup. Um, but I look at, cleanup that way of pausing targets as a safe move because I can either review lifetime data when the
Hmm.
account is looking good in Amazon and say, let's look at some lifetime data for my paused targets and see if I can recover, revive some of those
Yeah.
back. If you use a tool like Helium 10 ads where it's holding on to 2 years of historic
Yeah,
data,
that's very valuable.
oh my God, it's the most valuable thing I think
Exactly.
any tooling offers is holding on to 2 years worth of data that you can chop up in any way where that's the limiter in Amazon is I either have easy
65 day
65
in
days of search term
system.
data or 90 days that I have to click to really get that or lifetime data or year to date. It's like it's
E-
very clunky, but it's doable, but it's clunky. But running your cleanup on targets is one thing. There's also search terms to run that same cleanup. So
Hmm.
if you're looking for 15 clicks or $15 and no sale on your targets, you can look for that on your products. You can look for that on your search terms, depending on where you need to clean up that mess. Do you have a catalog of products in an ad group where a number of them are hitting $15 and no sale? You should probably pause those and move forward, zero in on the ones that are
Yeah.
converting. If you have search terms that have $15 and no sale in the ad group, get those out of there and create some negatives if you need to. Um, when it comes to negatives, though, it's depends on, it's hard to understand what negatives were created
Exactly.
and archive them. So it's sometimes I prefer pausing targets because I can easily find pause targets and bring them back if I need to. When it comes to negatives, there's the idea is like, is it relevant? Well, if it's relevant, then the issue lies somewhere else? Or is it a
Mm,
hyper competitive search that is what's, doing the damage? Maybe we do get rid of that. But yeah, looking for all of those CPAs, whether it be your cost per
mm.
acquisition or your clicks per acquisition to clean up that waste.
Yeah, that's very detailed answer. And
Yeah.
that's very helpful. So sometimes and the strategy is good that so instead of just going all in account all the campaign, just going for specific campaign, so that not just saves the time but also keeps the visibility up because you're not just doing the stuff that doesn't matter. Because
Right.
yeah, and when you go, so let's say if the account have a lot of SKUs and the campaigns, and then you dive into systems, and then that become a mess.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I
And so,
think it,
yeah,
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 go on.
yeah. And sometimes, so maybe you have also noticed we sometimes feel like a guilty when we are going into campaign and see a very relevant system getting spent without a sale, and we are just hitting negative
Yeah.
because
It's a tough decision to make when you
exactly.
see the exact search, but I think when you see those things, and I think what that brings to light is okay, if it's that important to me, I need to have some better eyes on that. And it might be worthwhile to create a unique campaign with an exact match with that exact search.
Exactly.
So that your visibility is brought to the campaign level and make sure your campaign, I generally label my campaigns if I have a very specific keyword that I'm using for that, then I'll have the campaign name have the keyword in the title so that I know
Same
that's
as
what
I
this
do.
stuff is for, right? So that, those are the decisions to like, all right, if it's that important. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, it's not easy to
Yeah.
get rid of those things. However, when your tacos or your ACOS is through the roof, I think those decisions become very clear. And I think where
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
decision really becomes easier is if I'm struggling to make the decision on making a negative or pausing a keyword, then you are considering your cost per acquisition too low. Yeah, or
Hmm.
maybe, all right, well, I bet if it spent $15 in no sale, you're having a hard time creating a
E-
negative. I bet if
Yeah.
it spent $100 in no sale, you'd be very quick to get rid of it, right? So so
Yeah.
I think those are the things that are, interesting to figure out. And I started falling back on, you know, we want a $12 to get the sale, or we want this.
Yeah.
Well, the reality is this is how my product is interacting in the market. And so I need to follow that and I need to maintain and manage my accounts in line with that. Now, part of that other goal is, hey, I'm having to cut at $15 to keep your tacos and keep your profit and your margins where you want. If we are
Exactly.
going to improve performance and we're going to grow this account, we need to improve our conversion rate, which means we need to get our customers to recognize your brand. We need to get your customers to trust your product, trust your
Yeah.
brand. And I think those are the
Time
directions,
taking things that
time-taking
needs
things.
planning.
Correct. Yeah. So, yeah, those are the fun decisions. And I think that's generally where these conversations start is like cut, cut, cut. But let's push this the other way, actually. Like, I
Yeah.
think looking for opportunity is a cool thing.
Hmm.
Figuring out like where do I start? What do I do next? What's so like when I look for things that are working, I try to make sure like, all right, what have we taken advantage of? If a keyword is working, have I taken advantage of all the match types, broad, phrase, exact? I'm completely fine putting all the match types in the same place just to see which one resonates best and interacts best with the market.
Yeah.
Have I explored video, sponsored brand video? Have I explored sponsored display? Typically, with expanding into those
Yeah.
campaigns, I
So
need to
me,
make sure that sponsored product is working first.
so the good thing would be so if you are cutting or pausing one target, so you also look for two other opportunities where you can drive the traffic and test and get the visibility. So that was
Right,
very detailed answer. I
right.
really like that. So and so the next thing is about sponsored brand campaigns. So if you have to advice in 3 minutes. So you have 3 minutes for that.
All
So,
right.
so what are the your suggestions or best practices for sponsored brand video or sponsored brand campaigns?
So, sponsor brand has absolutely evolved over the last 3, 4 years. I think one of the biggest things is, well, just the avenues of product targeting now, multiple ad groups, how the match types are interacting now with exact match for sure. If anyone doesn't know, it's not so exact anymore.
Yeah.
Broad match has always been that way.
Hmm.
But what I'll talk on like my recent interaction with sponsored brand is sponsored brand video leading to the product detail page. I find that to be a very valuable campaign
Exactly. Yes.
tactic for all the other ones, product collection, store spotlight, sponsored brand video going to the store, all worth exploring. But if you were to start with one, the sponsored brand video going to the product detail page, whether you use keyword targeting or product targeting, is very valuable. And especially through keyword targeting, you get
Yeah.
multiple placements that are top of the top banner, middle, lower. Like
Mm.
there's so many areas, and it actually displays your brand. So you're getting a brand store click available there, but you're also getting a detail page click as well, which we know like we I know myself, and I think that helps me understand Amazon shoppers. Like I'm I want the quickest path to purchase, and the
Exactly.
store is a little
With
further
less
from.
friction.
Yeah. So I found the product detail page avenue to be very valuable, and the simplest videos get the job done to get the placement. So that would be the place I would explore.
Yeah, the same thing that I have seen the accounts that we have, the sponsored brand product detail page videos are converting very well. And the other
Very
thing
well.
that we have tested is sponsored brand video category targeting campaigns like
Yeah.
low and medium bid with some pre-negative targeting. They also very
Very.
good at.
Yeah, I would keep bids very low.
Hmm.
The because the category, even so in with category targeting, it just goes after all the search terms within that category and detail pages. So you're getting a mix of the worlds
Hmm.
that yeah, if you run category targeting, review your search terms and you'll quickly understand, oh, I'm not just going after additional detail page ASINs in this category. I'm included in a number of searches from this category, and that's just a result of Amazon's got ad space to fill. So,
Yeah,
by you targeting the category, so it could be very temperamental. Oh, let me put a dollar bid at that. You might just bust all your budget out in 2 hours. Wake up at eight in the morning and be like, "Why am I already out of budget?" You have a
yeah.
dollar bid on a category target, and maybe pull that down to 25 cents and set the minimum and work your way up.
Yeah, exactly. So one more thing, that's a really good case study. So we have seen by mistake some of the campaigns where the budget was reduced by mistake, even though the bid
Mhm.
were same, and the even though the campaigns were not spending all of their budget, but
Right.
still we have seen the echoes went up. So that was really interesting how Amazon algorithms consider see different metrics, not just bidding keywords, but
Right.
also the budget of the campaigns.
Right.
So the other thing, the same we have because we don't have enough time. It's a 40
Okay.
minute meeting. Yeah. So I'm on a free version of Zoom. Okay. So there are two things that we have now. The first is Amazon DSP. So what are your thoughts on that? Have you tried or what are the results?
This could be real quick. I mean, I don't run DSP. I'm not an expert in DSP. I believe brands that are using it are like I believe big level brands are the players there,
Mm,
where Amazon will say anyone should be running, top of funnel type strategies using DSP. But, anybody looking to enter into DSP, I would say first exhaust everything in Amazon
yeah.
first, and Amazon's vCPM options are very DSP-like.
Hmm.
So if you've exhausted all of those options and are seeing only good things result from it, then it might be a good idea to get out of Amazon. But
Yeah.
even in vCPM, I'm running some sponsored display reach strategies, which is their vCPM, and the that I see push ads off Amazon. I've started noticing like, why are my ads on this site right now? I'm not running DSP, and it's because of the vCPM's
Yeah.
ads that I'm running.
And these are the killer campaigns in terms of
They can be.
misleading.
They're misleading. I don't know if they're killer, but they're misleading. So as long as you understand what the metrics represent, then you'll know perhaps how
Yeah.
to use it and include it in your strategy.
Yeah, these campaigns attribute organic sales into them. I think
Right.
it Amazon is doing this intentionally as they did with sponsored brand exact campaign, making them broad. So I remember in 2023, June 2023, we saw noticed this issue and contacted Amazon Sport, and they said they are going to fix it, but it's not fixed yet because
Yeah,
it's making them the money and it's biggest money stream for
it
Amazon.
is. And yeah, so exactly what you said, like the attribution is being attributed to organic traffic, to ad traffic, and so it does create potential issues with your cost per click ads not receiving its attribution of the sale. And so now you have a click and no sale and a lot of clicks and no sale or a high ACoS happening in your sponsored product
Yeah.
campaign. But a beautiful looking ACoS out of your other ones, out of your vCPM. And so when it comes to cleanup, it's like, well, do I get rid of these clicks and no sale or were they a sale in some way to this one? So
Yeah,
it makes managing PPC very difficult, but I've over the year of using it, I've seen some game changers for how it interacts with the
yeah.
brands that I use it for. A couple of the brands, what I've had to do in order to make it work is I use a tool like Helium 10 and I use their budget schedule where I have my vCPM campaign set at, let's say, a $10 budget, and it'll run out of budget by like 10 a.m. But at 12 p.m., I increase the budget, I double it, and I let that run for a couple of hours, and then it runs out of budget again. And then at like 6 p.m., I'll increase it by 300%. So it's back in budget again. And so that has allowed me to get the best of both worlds where I have
Hmm.
enough attribution going to my cost per clicks to make management easy, and also the
The vis-
visibility that
yeah, they are very
those
good at
strategies do
driving the
provide.
impressions.
Yeah. But it's caused me to have to figure out some interesting
Yeah.
approaches. And if you don't have the right tooling to do that, then it's almost impossible. So, but it's
Hmm.
still an avenue worth exploring, and it has
Especially
its
for the big niches.
right. Right.
And sometimes the strange thing is, so we see the impressions, no clicks, but it's having 10 orders, 12 orders. That's
Right.
that's
Yeah.
very silly.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's very helpful. And the other thing is it's for someone who wanted to start his or her career as a Amazon PPC expert. So what advice would you give them?
So I think the biggest thing first is immersing yourself in whatever knowledge is out there, and not thinking that one way is the only way. I've learned most of my early years of PPC through Ad Badger, which has just a wealth of knowledge that they've
Exactly.
provided through their podcast, which is the PPC Den podcast. I had the privilege of working with Vince Montero at Helium 10. He was our Tacos Tuesday guy.
Yeah.
And so I learned a ton from him. I had the privilege of learning from Destiny with Sean from BTR Media. She was somebody that came into Helium 10 as a partner and still there, and provides extremely valuable knowledge in the
Yeah.
space.
No
Her
doubt.
through her own platform and agency, BTR Media, she just has a wealth of knowledge to provide, and just diving deep into that and getting as much understanding of how this thing is all working and what avenues. But nothing's better than getting direct experience. That's when I started really putting pieces together. And it was a client through Helium 10 of like, hey man, like, would you mind if I managed your account? It would really help me out. And he's like, yeah, man, go for it. I'm like, oh, sweet. And it just really started connecting the dots of what the knowledge looks like and what the actual management looks like. But,
Hmm.
at the end of the day, and I look at this too from my side is, starting simple. And that's how
Yeah.
I approach any account that I take on. It's like, we need to make sure simple works before we get to anything complex. PPC doesn't have to be complex. It,
Yeah,
it
it
can
must
be,
be
and it might
simple.
need to be, but simple works for a very good product. Complex might be too complex for a good product or a bad product. Like it
Yeah,
just might be uncovering like your product market fit is just not working, and our strategy's having to get too complex to actually see results, and we're still not seeing them. So
exactly. So
start
if
simple.
yeah, and I think if someone is a jumping chick, he doesn't rely just on one thing. He do the things his own and learn different sources. So and the other thing is if he's with analytical mind or brain.
Mhm.
So
Right.
because it's all about numbers, data going up, down, and just
Right.
going into the rabbit hole and just
Yeah.
changing the numbers. So that's what if he someone started, he must be. So if he hate maths, that would be difficult for.
Yeah. Yeah, I would expect that. If you hate math, you might not excel in this world. But I wasn't a math major. I was a music major when in
Yeah, I can
college.
see the guitar behind you,
Yep.
and I also wanted
Yep.
to ask this.
I went to that's why I studied my undergrad. I went to Berklee College of Music, and it's funny. I just had this conversation with my mother, who was in town last week, and I had said to her, I was like, there is a direct correlation to the way that I learned how to analyze music and the relationship of notes, and
Hmm.
what I found to be exciting in music school was more jazz composition and understanding, the analytics of it. And now fast forward to where I'm at now, like there is a direct correlation to how I approach analyzing and seeing into the matrix perhaps of PPC. But yeah, it takes an
Yeah,
analytical one for
yeah,
sure.
that's definitely a thing that made you so knowledgeable. Yeah,
Yeah,
because music is itself it's not an easy thing. I don't know, but I have some like read about, but it's also like a if we say math or a complete thing, you do the thing.
right. And I always, in my coaching calls with people, and I know we got 2 minutes left. In my coaching calls with people, I connect those dots and put a lot of analogies back
Hmm.
to music. Jazz can be very complex, but at the end of the day, the rock pattern that we all love is a 1-4-5 pattern. All right, all right. Well, for those that know what that means, but let's push that into Amazon. You know, an auto, a broad, and a category targeting.
Yeah,
Or a keyword targeting and product targeting, sponsored product campaign strategy that works.
that's very
It
good
doesn't
analogy.
so keep it simple because it makes life much easier when managing it, and only let it get complex if it needs to be, if that's just how it needs to be. But otherwise, keep it simple, stupid, right? The KISS method.
Yeah, that's so we have a very good discussion, and I hope you went across uh, Alan Walker. Just kidding.
No.
Okay, so very good discussion, and I would love to also know about your music career as well, maybe in some time personal, but that's very like,
Yeah,
no, it's inspiring. You just came from like a creative work to just analytical work. That's how you shifted
right.
that.
Well,
And
there's a lot of creation and creative itches that are like creative scratches that Amazon PPC allows me
clock
to
is ticking.
explore. Yeah, clock is
Okay.
ticking. Yeah, but
I
this has
have,
been great. Thank you so much for having me, Aftab.
yeah. And thank you, Travis, for your very good discussion. And I will, I'm very thankful to you. Really, man. Love it.
Thank you so much.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
Stay blessed.